This story is called The Butterfly Lot. It took place when I was about 6 years old, and my brother John and I went to a place we referred to as the Butterfly Lot. There were lots of wildflowers growing there, and therefore lots of butterflies. All types of butterflies. There were the little white ones that always left a chalky white residue on your fingers when you caught them. Little sky blue ones that matched the color of the blue flowers that grew there. And if our timing was right, monarch butterflies, which were the biggest and prettiest of them all. Now, I don't know who came up with this idea, but somebody discovered that you could fly butterflies like a kite. All you had to do was tie one end from a spool of thread around the butterfly's neck and then let them go. Monarch butterflies were best suited for this because they were bigger, which made them better able to handle the weight of the thread. Not to mention they were easier to tie a thread onto. Now, you would cautiously approach the butterfly with your index finger and thumb in the ready position to pinch the butterfly's wings together. But you had to time it right because the butterfly was constantly but slowly moving its wings up and down, and you wanted to grab it by the wings just as they came up and were folded together, touching each other. You wanted to get both wings because if you only got a hold of one wing, the butterfly would flutter and flap its wings so violently to get away that a wing would usually break off, which of course rendered them pretty much useless as a potential kite. Now, tying the thread around the butterfly's neck required two people, one to hold it by the wings and one to tie the thread. But this was a very delicate operation which required steady hands by both people involved. And one wrong move and you were sure to end up with yet another headless butterfly. Did I mention they don't fly at all without their heads? No, they don't. Once the thread was tied on, the person holding the butterfly let it go. At the same time, the one holding the thread had to quickly allow the butterfly plenty of slack, or the butterfly might just flap about violently, wrap around your wrist, and yank its own head off. I told you this wasn't easy. Now, once you had the butterfly airborne, you would keep letting thread out, but not too much, because at some point the weight of the thread became too much for the butterfly to handle, and it would come crashing to the ground. There was an art to this, and it required great patience on our parts, and unfortunately, many headless butterflies. I mentioned I feel pretty bad about that. Well, once you had one successfully launched, it was almost as though you became one with the butterfly. You imagined it was you flying high above, viewing the world, free as a bird. Well, not quite free. You had a rope around your neck, and if you flew too high, your head would fall off. You would think that we'd have been able to get the same satisfaction from watching the butterflies flying free on their own, but tying a thread around them somehow made us feel more connected somehow, I guess. Years later, I was able to drive, and I visited the old neighborhood. I looked at the old dilapidated house we lived in and fondly remembered fun times had on and around that house. Under the porch, I pictured us kids sitting on the steps, wearing shoes with holes worn clear through the toes, making toys out of old popsicle sticks. I stopped in front of Skippy's house, the little witch disguised as a cute little girl who put a hex on me that has stuck to this very day. I went and saw Georgie's house, where I once saved a little bird's life, or so I had thought. And I went down the old cobblestone alley to the Butterfly Lot, where that huge expanse of nature kept our active imaginations busy for days. I had to stop for some time at the Butterfly Lot. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't that big old country lot I remembered in my child's eye. In fact, it was quite small. It was maybe only about 30 feet across and 20 feet deep. And it was sure no butterfly lot anymore. The only thing there was the skeleton of an old rusty burned out car lying on top of gravel that had been stained black from oil. I was beginning to think I never should have come here. Everything had shrunk, gotten old, and died. Then I pictured my brother John and I crouched down amongst the flowers in that butterfly lot, trying to tie a thread around a butterfly. We were in a place where ignorance ruled the land, and we were kings. We were young, we were curious, and we were dumb. And it was a time in our lives when ignorance was bliss. Yeah. Those were the days. Good night.